Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, hi, my name is Luna and welcome to Luna's Bookshelf. First of all, I'm sorry that I didn't post a video last week. I was just kind of busy. I also felt I was a little bit sick. I still am, but it's better now. So I wasn't able to film a video, but here I am now and we're going to try to post another video on Saturday, but I'm not making promises, but I'm going to try. So yeah. In today's video I'm going to talk about the books I read in the month of October, and I'm going to also talk about the books I want to read in the month of November. I'm not going to make a separate video for my November TBR because I kind of want to mood read, but I have some books I want to get to or want to read this month. So yeah, let's get into it. First up, we're going to talk about some statistics, as I always do, about the books I read this month. I read a total of 7 books. And 1 book was a DNF, so 8, but 7 books I read and 1 DNF. There are 2 romance books, 2 literary fiction, 1 thriller, and 1 fantasy book. And there were no 5 stars, sadly. Let's get now into the books that I read. So the first book I read is Billy Summers by Stephen King. I don't have a physical copy, so I will post picture of it right here. So I read this book for a video. You probably saw it already. It was a video where I read books that are out of my comfort zone. So if you haven't watched this video, go watch it now, or after, maybe no, watch it after this video. So Billy Summers is about Billy Summers. It follows him, and he is an assassin. He gets hired by people and he gets the job done. But there's one catch: he only kills people who deserve it and who are bad people. And you learn throughout the story why he only does that. And in this book, he is going to do his one last job because he wants to retire. So yeah, that's what all the book's about. He's also going to be writing a book in the book because he is going undercover as a writer. So, and while he is writing the story, he is fake writing, but he's also actually writing it. I hope you understand. He is writing his own story, and by reading this book you get to see why he does what he does. So yeah, the first half of the book I really liked. It was fast-paced and it was interesting to read, seeing Billy going undercover and making his whole second persona. But after the job was done, I got a little bit bored. There were some things I just didn't really like in it. Also some trigger warnings I didn't know, so look trigger warnings up if you might be sensitive. So yeah, I give this book 2.5 stars. It wasn't the 3 stars, just because I really didn't like all the rest of the book. Like the first beginning was good, but after that it just went downhill. So yeah, would not recommend reading it. There are some people I heard loved it, but it was just not for me. And then the next book I read is a book I started reading in August, I think. So it took me quite a while to finish this book, but I eventually did finish it, and that is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. This is a fantasy book and it is part of a series, but this is the first book, and I think the other books has still yet to come out yet. So yeah, this is a big chunk of a book. It's like over 600 pages. Okay, no, it's not. This is just 604 pages, but it's quite a big book also to hold. I didn't get into it that easily. I had to audiobook it for a little while because I just couldn't get into the story. But once I really liked it. So, this book follows, I forgot the names, I'm sorry. This book follows Connor, and he is the Prince of Castellane, and he has a sword catcher named, oh my god, I'm so bad at names, I'm sorry. And he has a sword catcher called Gal, and he has a purpose. He protects Connor, so Connor doesn't go in public when there is a threat, so Cal goes in his place because they're going to make him look alike, you know? And so that means what the sword catcher means. He protects the prince. There's a lot of other things going on. So you have mostly you have Cal, his point of view. There's also another girl, and she's called Lynn, and she's a physician, and you also get to see her point of view. Sometimes it's the fact I don't remember everything well from the book means kind of a lot and says a lot, that I just was sometimes a little bit bored in it. I did like it, but it's just, for me it was a little bit too much and it was too long to get to it. But I did give it still 3 stars because I did like it at some points, but sometimes it was a little bit too dragged out in my opinion. But I don't know yet if I'm going to read the other books. At this point I don't think I will, but you never know. But yeah, the second book. So the third book I read was Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I was so excited to read this because this was one of my anticipated reads of 2024, and I finally got to read it and I was so happy. So this book comes after Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and it follows Liz and Wes. It's a young adult romance. If you did not really like Better Than the Movies, I don't think you would love this either because it just follows still the same couple. The thing is about this book, it's not necessary. It's not that it was a need to be a second book. I mean, the first book is enough. But now in this book you see Liz and Wes going into college, when in the first book they are still in high school. So yeah, the first book was more kind of in Liz her perspective, and this one is more in Wes his perspective, and I really liked that. It really showed more of who Wes is, and I really liked him as a character. It's still very I just love it. It's so cute, and I just will forever love Liz and Wes. They're one of my favorite book couples forever. So yeah, but it's not necessary, but I still liked it. So I gave this 4.75 stars. So yeah, still liked it, and if you did love Better Than the Movies, I would recommend reading this. So the next book I was eyeing for a really long time, before I even had it in my possession, but I just didn't read it. I was just not really in the mood, I think, for it. But when I eventually had it, I just couldn't stop staring at it because I was like so intrigued, and I saw a lot of people reading it. I was like, you know, we're going to give it a try. And that is Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. So this is a fantasy. It is an adult fantasy, if I'm correct. I will put all the adult, if it's young adult, in the corner so you know if it's for you or not. But I do think this is an adult fantasy, not a young adult. So this is a young adult fantasy, and it is about vampires, and it follows Oraya, but she is not a vampire, she is a human. She gets taken care of by the king of the Nightborn vampire king. So it's really weird because she's like a human and he's a vampire, but he still takes care of her. And then there's this game going to happen, like a game contest. That was what I'm looking for. There's a contest happening where a lot of vampires participate in, and Oraya is going to do the same thing, because at the end you get to do a wish and she has something to wish for. So yeah. But alongside this game, she is in a very vulnerable place because she is a human. She's human. But she has to side with someone, and it's going to be someone she didn't expect to side with. And there are a lot of twists going on and things you maybe not saw coming. I kind of saw it coming, but also not. You know, I knew where it's going, but not exactly where it was going. So yeah. But I really liked it. There is a second book, there is a novel, and then there's a second book, and I think it is going to be 5 books in total. Yeah, she says we have 5 more books in this world. So there are going to be 6 books in total then, I think. So yeah, really like this. Really liked reading this. It's a good and fast-paced book. Even though it's a fantasy, I really got through it very quickly. So I think that I always love fantasies where I don't get too much stuck on certain parts to understand what is going on and what the world is about, and I didn't have it with this one, so I really liked it about it. I give it 4.5 stars, just not a 5 because I just was not feeling the entirely 5-star feeling, but I still liked it either way, and I'm definitely going to read the other books. Then the next book is a book I also saw a lot of. No, there was one particular YouTuber I saw talking about this book, and she just intrigued me by reading this, and that is Haley Pham. and she really loved The Ministry of Time by Colleen Bradley. First of all, this cover is so cool, so I don't know, I just like it. I was really scared going into this because I was not sure if I was going to get the story, you know what I mean? But I really liked it. So, I'm going to talk it roughly how it is because I think it's a good thing to going into it blindly. I did it as well, not knowing a lot, and I liked it. So this follows like it's takes place in the UK, but like I think nowadays, I mean, I don't know sure what exactly. But yeah, so it's about the Ministry of Time, and the British government has a door which they go back in time. So there's this experiment going on where they take some people in the past who will die eventually and take them into the future, the now. You know what I mean? And going to see what happens. But a lot is going on, and one of the main characters, I forgot her name. There's no name of her. But the female main character, she is going to be a portal. There's a name for it. She's a bridge, and she has to stay with the person who comes from the past. A lot is going on. There's a kind of a mystery in it. There's also a romance in it. It's a lot. It is classified as a sci-fi thinking, but I also think it's like a literary fiction. It's a little bit in between. But I did like it. It took me by surprise. I didn't expect it to like it, but I did. So it's a good thing. So I'm going to take a look at my phone. So I gave this 4.25 stars at the time, but I think I will maybe just go for the 4 stars because I did like it, but it's not that I was like this close to a 5-star. But I recommend reading it if you're kind of into the genre. Then the next book is a DNF, and I read it because some of my friends recommended it to me, and I thought, you know what, I'm a booktuber now, so I maybe should read this book and give it a try. And that book is a selection by Kira Klaas. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I read it on my Kobo. So it is a young adult book, but it felt to me really young adult while reading it, and I was just not feeling it. I was not really drawn to it, and I didn't have the urge to pick it up. So at a moment I thought, you know what, this is not for me. So I decided to DNF it. It's not a shame. I think sometimes people force themselves through books even though they don't like it, and I'm glad I didn't do that. I should have done it with Billy Summers, but because I was reading it for a video, I didn't want to disappoint you guys, so I did end up reading it. But if I was reading it in my own free time, I would probably ended up DNFing it. But yeah, so that was my first DNF of the year, I think, also. So I think it's good to have just one DNF so far this year. But yeah, that was it. Then the next book I also read it on my Koba, and that is Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is the 3rd book in the Maple Hill series, and this book follows Henry and Haley. I don't know how I pronounce her name, but those two, you see Henry in the previous books, and this book is just mainly about him. I heard mixed reviews about this book because I was a little bit scared going into it, but I ended up really liking it. I really love Hannah Grace's writing. It's just so easy to get into, and her books read so fast, and I love that. It's a really good palate cleanser as well. So yeah, this book follows Henry and Hale. Hale just broke up with her boyfriend, and Henry is just going around. He's just flirting around with some girls, but not really. It's not that like he has a relationship or something. And then they meet, and there's some things happening, and he's going to help her to get the romance experience because she's writing a book. So yeah, it's going to like a little bit of fake dating, friendship evolving, etc. I really like that books like these interconnected standalones, because you don't necessarily have to read it in order. I didn't. I first read Wildfire, then Icebreaker, and then now Daydream. But I really love the fact that you see glimpses of the previous couples in it, and I really like that. So yeah, but I like this book. It's not my favorite out of all, but I gave it 4 stars because I still liked it anyways, and I really liked both of the characters. So yeah. Then the last book I read this month is a book I was a little bit scared, I'm not gonna lie, because the last time I read a book by this author, I got into a little bit of a book slump, so I was scared. But it did not happen. I'm not in a book slump, so that's good. And that is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. So the book I was talking about previously is just Normal People, so when I read that, I got into a book slump, so I was a little bit scared going into this, like, what if I get into a reading slump? Again, that wouldn't be the greatest thing to happen. But yeah, I started anyways because, you know what, I bought this book for a reason, because I do want to read it. So yeah. So this book follows Frances. She is a student in Dublin, and she wants to be a writer, and now she is, I don't know why I say now she's what. Then, along with best friend Bobby, she's getting interviewed by a journalist called Melissa, and she is married to Nick. So there are some things going on. It's a literary fiction, and it's not at all like romance. There's a lot of other things going on then, except the romance, but there is a romance in it. Sally Rooney's writing style is very unique, I think. She doesn't use quotation marks when people say something, and a lot of people need to get used to it, me too. But I think because I read Normal People before, I was already known to her writing style, and it was easier to get into. So I think that was one of the reasons that I did go through this book quicker than I did than when I was reading Normal People. So yeah, the thing is, I like this book. It read quickly, and it's not that I didn't like it, but I just didn't feel really connected to the characters, which I really love when I am connected to the characters, because it gets a little bit more personal, you know. But I still liked it, and I will definitely read another Sally Rooney book. I'm really interested to reading Intermezzo by her. So yeah, it's not going to be my last Sally Rooney book. So yeah, I give this book 3 stars. I was good. It was a fine read, but not my favorite. So yeah. Well, then, that were all the books I read in the month of October. I think I did a pretty good job. Also, if you look at my TBR video for October, I think I read a total, I'm not sure, I will put it in the screen how many books I read that were on my TBR. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that. Then now, we're going to talk about the books I want to read in the month of November. As I said before, I don't really want to make a separate video because I just want to go in and mood read a little bit this month. So, but I do have some books I want to get into this month. So you know what? We'll see. We'll see where we'll get. But the first book I want to read is this book. It's, I don't know if I can say the words because... So I'm just not going to pronounce it, just for the sake of this video, because I don't want this video to get demonetized. That would be pretty sad. But this is a book by a Belgian author, and I normally don't read books written in Dutch, because I just read books in English. But one of my goals was this year to read more books written in Dutch, and I did, and this is my second book yet. And I really want to get to reading this. It is a romance, I think. Not sure entirely what the genre is, but I will put it up on the screen. So yeah, really excited to read this and can't wait to get into it. Then the next book is a book I also got for a very long time in my possession. But now I was just eyeing it a little bit. I was like, maybe I should try this book. And that is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. It is a romance book, and I just saw this book the other day, and I was like, I'm kind of getting intrigued by you, and I really want to read you. So you know what? I just thought, why not put it on my TBR for the month of November? So I hope I can get to it. It's part of a series. There is a second book out already, but I was just like, when I bought this, that wasn't out yet. So we'll see. Maybe I like it that much that I will want to read the second book. Then the next book I want to read is a book I already started I think 1 or 2 years ago, and I got into it pretty... I got into it very... I don't know how to say it. I'm just lost at words at the moment. But yeah, I started already, but I just never finished it. But I like more like the soft teenagers because I'm intrigued by it. And that is this Woven Kingdom by Tahiri Moffi. This is a fantasy book. I do think it's a young adult fantasy book. I got to chapter 16, so this I read, but I will definitely start again because I don't know anything about it anymore. But I really want to get into it. I also have the second book, so maybe if I like this really much, I can read the second book immediately after. So yeah, we'll see. Then the last book I want to read in the month of November, I'm still not sure which book, but it's going to be a reread of one of my favorite authors, and that is Emily Henry. I really love her writing, and she is going to release a new book in the next year in April, and I'm very excited for it. But I just want to read another book by her this year because I read Funny Story by her, but I really love that. I annotated that book a lot. I ate that book up, but I just want to go back and other books, but I'm still debating on which one I should reread. There are 3 participants in this little contest on which one it's going to be, and the first one is Book Lovers. I read this I think the longest time ago. No, not that long ago, but probably the year it was published. Is this in it? Should be in it, right? No? 2022, I think, and 2022, so 2 years ago I read this, and I really I liked it, but I was not really obsessed with it, you know? So this is one of the books I was just not really thinking about when I think of Emily Henry books, and I really love them, but I want to give it another chance. It's like 2 years ago, my taste changed, so I want to see if I still liked it, you know? It's not that I hated it. I think I gave it still like 3 or 4 stars. But yeah, I want to try and reread it maybe, but I'm not sure if it's going to be this one. Then our book I read last year, really loved it, cried, laughed, a lot of emotions, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This book is so good. It's one of my favorite books by Emily Henry, and I kind of want to reread it because I kind of want to reread all of her books and annotate them because I really annotated Funny Story this year. I also annotated this, but I still want to reread it maybe. But I just underlined things and mark things, but I really want to annotate it. Like, you know, tab, maybe more to underline more things. So yeah, that's why I maybe want to reread this, but we'll see. And then the last book of Emily Henry I maybe want to reread this month. It's going to be one of those 3, not all of them obviously. And that is a beach read, but one of my friends currently has it still. So this was my first thought because it was one of the rereads I wanted to do this year because I really loved the book when I read it. It was the first Emily Henry book I read, and I really loved it. And I always say that's one of my favorite books, but it was a long time ago since I read it, so I want to reread it again to see how I feel about it now. So yeah, one of those 3 Emily Henry books will be a reread for me this year, but still not yet. No which one it's going to be. So yeah, it's quite a little TBR, but I still, you know what it is, I just want to mood read this month. I probably will also read some ebooks, but you know what, we'll see about it. We'll see at the end of the month, you'll see which book I read. So yeah, I will definitely consider maybe subscribing to my channel so you will know which books I did end up reading at the end of the month. So yeah, I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll see you next time, and enjoy the rest of the week. Bye!